just about the science plans. We have seen this morning what the various programs that we have. These plans, there are 4 of them, and they have evolved over time. The first, we started this program about 2005, and the first publication of these 4 science plans was in 20, and the nomenclature of these things have changed over time. So there was a need for revision, which was started in 2015 and was concluded in 2016. So the ones I'm presenting to you, the version I'm presenting to you, are the ones we have as of now and which have been marketed over time. So there are 4 of them, like I said: the global environmental change, the health and human well-being, the natural and human-induced hazard and disasters. And when we are talking about this, you remember Mozambique and what's the other one? Zimbabwe. And then we have sustainable energy. You will see that during the keynote address, most of these things were addressed. So, but because I have 20 minutes, you will have this presentation eventually. But because I have 20 minutes, I'll just gloss over them bit by bit so that you will be able to have a feel and see, as a community of scientists, where you yourself or your organization fits into it. Okay? So, for the global environmental change, and Jack is going to talk about this extensively in the next presentation. And by the way, our foray into the Senegalese Academy of Sciences has been brokered by one of the members of the regional committee for Africa, and that's Jack, a very able member, and has been the going between us and the academy. So we have this. If you look at this, we're talking about the type of things that are changing. If you ask a common man, the common man is going to tell you the type of rain that we used to have about 20 years ago is not the type of rain we're having now. The suns are getting worse, and so on and so forth. So when you look at this, we are looking at these various activities, research activities, when we talk about global environmental change, land degradation, biodiversity. This hotel, about 1992 or 3, when I came here for the Codestra activity, I could see what this hotel is now and what it was then. And I can tell you that this sea was now not as close to this hotel as it is now. So a lot of things are changing. So when we talk about degradation, it's both on land and on sea. So we have biodiversity laws and so on. Climate systems, food and nutrition, and you see that the keynote address talked about food, agriculture, and all the rest of it. Water resources, urbanization, and atmosphere, and this. So these are some of the issues that we are dealing with. I'm not going to go through these key issues for each of these, but I would like to just talk about this food and nutrition system. All of us have taken something this morning, and usually when you have a conference, there's always what they call the health break. Why is it called health break? It used to just be called break at that time for you to go to the bathroom and come back. Now it is called health break. And it is not for fun that it's called health break, because some of us, either you forgot to take breakfast before you come in, and so that you do not doze or you do not fall down, we have this health break. So all of these issues, food and nutrition, and the type of food that they give you are the ones that will sort of energize you in doing your duty. So look at these ones, and within the context of this, when you get it eventually, please see where you can contextualize yourself, where you can go into this and join in this. Water resources, most of the countries in Africa, especially in West Africa, north of you will see that many of them are water scarce now. And you will see one of the things that is impacting us is very, very much of urbanization. And with urbanization is an asset, but it can also be a nuisance if it's not well managed. And that's why we're having this atmospheric pollution. Now, ocean, most of the major cities that we have around the world, not only in Africa, are on the coast. How are they being impacted now, and so on? So you look at it. Fisheries and coast. A whale was captured. Is it last week? Shortly before I came, and it died and beached itself. And what did they find inside it? Garbage of plastic inside the whale, and that's what killed the whale. And that is why we are impacting the environment. Now, that literally takes us to the various 7 items that we want to look at in this this global environmental change. The world is changing, and we must change with it. Otherwise, we'll be left behind. All right? So, and we don't want to be left behind in Africa. You see, something said, Africa is the next stage. You know when development started? Greece, Britain, and so on, in the north. They then went to America, and by the time they left America, they jumped over Africa and went to Asia. Now, the keynote speaker is saying that Africa is the next. Now, that is our own time, and we are not going to repeat all the mistakes in the past. But unfortunately, history doesn't teach anybody anything. So it seems. Now, but we must learn from it. Now, health and human well-being is one of our science of the 4 science plans. And when we talk about health and human well-being, there are certain research themes that we want to look at here. Understanding the scientific basis of diseases in Africa, health promotion and disease prevention, health system analysis. All of us that are seated here, pardon me for saying it, all of us have different types of diseases that are afflicting us. You will see somebody who go to the toilet 10 times before we leave here. You see somebody who will go once. You will see somebody who has to take about 5 or 10 tablets or whatever in different categories. You will see who will not take anything. So, if we look at it, we have to understand your own nature, and so you understand the health needs. So, we need to look at what promotes health and what prevents diseases. This type of thing. And when you do that, you want to analyze it and so on. One important thing that is taking place in all the International Science Council regions is this traditional complementary and alternative medicine. For those who have been to Japan and especially China, a room as big as this will have 1/4 of it for what they call Western medicine. 3/4 of it is what? Traditional medicine in China. In Africa, we have all of these things, but we think it is not modern. Who determines what is modern? Who says it is not modern? If my forefathers have been using it with beneficial results, why can I not use it? If we have all the knowledge to modernize it, don't do whatever name, whatever quote and unquote modernize it and let us sell it. That is what is happening. And from experience, we found that the Latin American office, the Asia Pacific office, and the African office, we are very, very much interested in this traditional complementary and what we call alternative medicine. So it is important for us to note, and so don't let us lose what we have and what we inherited. It is our heritage, and we must use it to good purpose. So these are the type of things that for each of these major issues, these are the various things we want to take a look at it, but we do not have time to look at it again. I repeat. Once you have all of this, please try and look at it and see where you can come into this research elements. Okay? Just in case you have anything, just contact the regional office and they'll tell you which of these working groups you can be to enjoy yourself and enjoy your research and so on. So it's a very detailed type of thing. So please take advantage of it. In the case of traditional complementary or alternative medicine, look at it. We're talking about scientific validation. Why? Why scientific validation? Because you want to know. It is assumed that if you have headache and there is a traditional medicine for headache, the dosage of that headache determines the severity of your headache, right? Which is wrong. The most modern one will say take 2 tablets, morning, afternoon, evening. In our situation, my mother will just give me a cup. She said, how heavy is this headache? And I said, okay, take another cup. That is, the bigger the cup, it is thought that the faster, the more of it I take, the faster the headache will go. But we know that is not so. That's why we have we need this scientific validation and using what we have to find out a lot of discovery within that. Now look at this documentation of indigenous knowledge, meaning that we'll have to gather and catalog information about our traditional healers. They may not have gone to school, but they know what they are talking about. Okay? And because they know what they are talking about, we must respect them. All right? It is not their fault that they didn't go to school, but that doesn't mean that you are more knowledgeable than them. All right? And so we must take advantage of what we have. And so we want to collate, we want to classify, and want to catalog the uses of these medicinal plants for the overall benefit of everybody. Okay? We've talked about agriculture and all the rest of it. Now, okay, let me mention this. Now, because of the circumstances we are seeing in urban areas, as one of the things that urbanization has brought, look at the situation of mental health. I'm not sure whether it's happening in Senegal, but in many other countries, the number of so-called mad people, that's derogatively said, but we said mentally challenged. Okay? The number is rising. Now, why is it rising? What are the causes? And what can we do? Must we say because they are just out of their mind, jettison them? Remember, they are members of this community or of our communities. And so, look at it. We want to look at them, how assess the impact of changing economic, socio-political, and cultural environments on the evolution of mental well-being. Okay? That does not mean that we do not have those who are mentally challenged in the past. But their circumstances are different. Can we now understand them better? And that's what we want to investigate, their mental conditions and what is resulting, what is causing them. Okay? So, we have all of these two. Now, the third one is natural and human induced hazards and disasters. This is occurring with more ferocity now than we have in the past. And so this is being looked at in various ways. We'll start from the basic ones, or what we call the science-based one, geohazard research. And this particular group had even prepared what we call research proposal, and they said they want to look at assessing and mitigating earthquake risk. We are lucky in Africa that the incident of earthquakes and so on is not common. Okay? But you go to Japan, you go to Asia Pacific, and we have different stories. But we have some active volcanic activities in Africa too, and we should look at that. Okay? We want to look at hazards arising from volcanoes and explosive crater lakes. When we were in El Salvador last year, they took us to one volcano, or a crater, and you can imagine how vast this area is. Now, if in Africa we have very few of it, the few that we have, there are some. Mount Cameroon is very active, and some other ones. So, what do we do when it happens? Okay? And that's the essence of interdisciplinary research, multidisciplinary research. You're looking at this in a scientific way, but what are the social consequences, economic consequences, mental consequences of this type of thing? Look at what is happening in Mozambique and something you just cleared the whole house. I'm talking about 100,000 people. They cannot. 100,000 people is not a small number. Huh? But how do they, somebody who is trying to make a living, his livelihood is destroyed, his house is destroyed, everything is destroyed. How will he not go mad under that circumstance? So that's the type of thing that we have here. And so we want to look at what are the mitigation methods of landslides and so on. Again, we are relatively lucky in Africa. We have some hills. I imagine a whole hill just finishing like that and just sliding down. And finishing everybody. But we need to take care and make sure that we understand what is happening here. Then we talk about coastal hazards and pollution. Look at coastal hazard. If you just go down, the one I saw here is not as polluted as it, but just look at the news. You will see the type of plastics that we're talking about, things that you will not, even in that beach, you will not want to swim. Okay, so those are the activities, and then we draw drought and desertification. Many countries in West Africa, north of it, you will see that this is what we are dealing with. So how do we handle it? All right. So these are some of the things that we need to look at. So we are, like I said, working groups. Look, we are having various working groups, and this is what we are looking at. We even went to budgeting to see where do you get funding for this type of thing. This is what you see. Okay? So, the last one I want to talk about is the energy. One of the major problems that we have in Africa is energy. But the resources that we have in the Democratic Republic of Congo is more than enough to power the whole of Africa and export. Yet, it is lying in waste, it is lying in ruin. Okay? That's where the political angle of it comes in. But here, without energy, what can you do? And yet we have major problems with energy in Africa. So we are thinking here for this science plan, we want to develop energy models and scenarios for Africa. We want to see how we can have access to high quality, reliable and affordable energy. Okay? And then we want to strengthen and retain retention of human and institutional capacities in this particular area. And then we have different activities that will go with it, and then how we will contextualize this. Okay? So here, what we are trying to work on is to ensure that in bringing in the type of energy that we're talking about, it should be affordable, available and affordable. The fact that it's available does not mean it can be affordable. Okay? There are some countries that have been very, very good at this in terms of stability. Here now, since we started, the electricity has not gone off in my country without being rude or whatever. It will have probably gone about 3 or 4 times and come back. This is not. There's no development that can be sustained under that system. And those that have that level of stability in energy are having challenges now. Okay, so how do we handle that? So we want to look at a way of strengthening and retention of these human and institutional capacities. Many times we're talking about capacity development, but honestly, in my own opinion, and based on my experience, Africa has a large reserve of this. Unfortunately, many of these people are in the so-called developed country now. Why? Because their country do not appreciate them, okay, and so cannot utilize them, or do not have the materials within they are going to work with. Imagine a country like my country, where we have scarcity of medical personnel, all right, and yet a substantial number of medical personnel are outside, trained by the country, now exported out. This is essentially what is happening here. Okay, we've seen situations where you know, when the president of America came up, he said he was going to export mostly African nationals out of his country, until he found that these African personnel, African individuals, are holding key positions in industry, in energy, in everything and that's why he kept his mouth shut. And yet we in Africa, we do not have this. So these are issues that we as scientists should be able to work with and should be able to contribute our own quota in there. When we see where we want to, how we want to implement that. So we want to identify gaps and so all of this. Please take time to look at this and put in your own do I say application or interest, and then contact the regional office in this, and then we'll know that we will be able to work together. For science plan, things are evolving. Don't be left behind. And if you don't, what is the name of this? Not in my backyard. Not in my backyard. But it will not be in your backyard if you are vigilant. If you are not vigilant, it's not only going to be in your backyard, it's going to be in your front yard. So let us work as hard as possible so that we can move. Thank you very much.
Thank you.